With a middle school reunion invitation in front of me, I was torn about whether to attend or not. The reason being, there were people I wanted to see and others I didn't. I grew up in a middle-class family. We didn't live lavishly, but we had a decent life. All that changed just before I started middle school. It began when my father became responsible for a relative's debt for which he had co-signed. The relative had started a business, but it failed, leaving a massive debt behind and then disappearing. Most of my dad's salary went towards paying off that debt, and my mom, who had health issues and couldn't work outside, tried to support the family with a home-based job, but it paid peanuts. Because of this, I went to school every day wearing a tattered uniform, torn pants, and sneakers that were too big, so I crushed the heels to make them fit. The ones who always mocked and looked down on me were Mike and his gang.
Look at the Po guy. Wilson's house is such a dump.
Wilson, aren't you embarrassed wearing such a ragged uniform?
Don't come near me. You stink because you probably don't even shower.
At first, they only ridiculed me with words, but as they realized I wouldn't retaliate, their actions escalated. They'd sometimes rip my notebooks, hide my pencils, or even throw my handouts in the trash. It wasn't my fault that my family was Po, and my parents had always worked hard without doing anything wrong. Despite that, I lamented the unfairness of why I had to endure such mistreatment. No one in my class tried to help me. They just watched from afar. No one wanted to be associated with a bullied kid like me, except for one person. There was another girl in my class who was also being bullied. However, it wasn't because she was Po. Ashley had pigtails, long bangs, wore glasses, and gave off square impression. She'd sit alone during breaks and read books. When someone spoke to her, she'd freeze up, turning red and unable to respond. For just that, she was called lame, gloomy, and snobby, and the girls began to avoid her. Unlike the boys' bullying, the girls didn't get physically aggressive. Instead, they'd ignore her, exclude her from groups, or loudly gossip about her just enough so she could hear, which felt mentally torturous. I had a secret crush on Ashley during middle school. We were both forced to be library assistants because nobody else wanted the tedious job. At first, I felt a kinship with her because we were both bullied in class, and I was curious about her. But as we worked together at the library counter, organized the bookshelves, and talked about our interests when no one was around, I got to know her gentle, kind, and sincere nature and started to feel attracted to her. That doesn't mean we started a romantic relationship like in a love story. I lacked the courage to confess my feelings to her, and before I knew it, graduation came. After graduation, I started working to reduce my parents' debt, and she went on to a college prep school. We never saw each other after that. Thinking that Mike and his gang might be at the reunion made me reluctant to go, but my desire to see Ashley was stronger. So, I mustered the courage and decided to attend the reunion. Standing in front of the reunion venue, my knees trembled slightly. The memories of being bullied in middle school resurfaced. But more than a decade has passed since then. Surely, they must have matured and become thoughtful adults. It's gonna be okay. I reassured myself and headed for the entrance. I saw my former classmates chatting away in groups. However, being a loner who didn't belong to any group back then, I couldn't find a circle to join. I looked around the venue, but I couldn't spot Ashley anywhere. Why did I even come to a reunion with mostly unpleasant memories from middle school? I sighed and headed to the buffet corner to get a plate. I thought I'd eat and drink for a bit and then leave early. As I loaded my plate and was deciding where to eat, I suddenly heard a voice from behind.
Hey, isn't that Wilson?
Long time no see.
Been keeping well.
Mike and his gang smiled at me, genuinely pleased. It was as if they had never bullied me, talking to me as if we were close friends. I felt a mix of surprise and unease. Well, so. As I responded, Mike wrapped his arm around my shoulder.
Hey, it's been ages since we met. Let's have a toast.
If they're trying to forget about the bullying, should I let bygones be bygones too? Indeed, it doesn't do any good to dwell on the past. Perhaps it's time to build a new relationship with them. I decided to change my mindset and managed a forced smile. Yeah, sure. Upon hearing my reply, Mike immediately flagged down a waiter and ordered some red wine. While waiting, the conversation revolved around our recent lives. Mike proudly mentioned that he's now working at a prestigious company after graduating from college. The other two also mentioned that they are in sales or office jobs.
So, what have you been up to, Wilson?
Mike casually asked, and I hesitated before replying. I've been working at the factory ever since I graduated from high school. Mike and his friends exclaimed, seriously, that's impressive. Just then, the waiter brought the red wine.
Well, a toast to our hard-working Wilson.
As Mike received the wine, without hesitation, he poured the entire bottle over my head. What? I was dumbfounded, and Mike and his friends burst out laughing.
Working at a factory with just a high school diploma. That's the bottom of the barrel.
And you've been there forever? Can't believe it.
Wilson, you're such a loser.
They hadn't changed a bit since middle school. I was a fool to think I could trust them. The strong scent of red wine hit my nostrils, and I felt it sticky on my skin. I wanted to escape as fast as possible. Suddenly, a stunning woman stood before me. She was strikingly beautiful, like an actress or a model.
I had a feeling you guys would do something, so I started recording. I never thought you'd go this far.
The outraged woman showed me a video on her smartphone of Mike pouring wine on me.
What? It's just a way to welcome a guy who can't even afford red wine. And who the heck are you?
I, too, was wondering who she was. I didn't recall such a beauty in our class.
You were bragging about working at a big company earlier. My dad's the CEO of your parent company. I'll be showing him this video.
Upon hearing her words, Mike went pale.
Your dad's the CEO.
I'll let you know about any implications later.
She told Mike, and then took my hand.
You'll catch a cold like this. Come with me.
Confused, I was led out of the venue. Outside, a luxurious black car was waiting.
Get in?
I hesitated, not wanting to stain the posh car with my wine-soaked clothes. Seeing my reluctance, she firmly pushed me inside.
I'm sorry. I just couldn't stand by and watch.
She apologized to me, and I just shook my head in silence. She didn't seem like a bad person at all. I decided to just follow her quietly for now. We arrived at a grand mansion. The gate opened automatically, and a luxury car smoothly drove in.
I'm sorry you have to wear my dad's clothes.
She handed me a change of clothes and told me to take a shower. Confused about what was happening, I felt it'd be rude to stay covered in red wine, so I gratefully took the offered shower. The sticky feeling of the red wine was gone, and I felt refreshed as I returned to the living room where she had led me earlier. The beautiful woman from before was there, but she seemed different. Her hair was now in a ponytail and she was wearing glasses, looking at me with a tense expression.
Wilson, don't you remember me?
As I stared at her, the features of a girl I once knew began to emerge in my mind. Ashley, I asked hesitantly, and she nodded with a smile.
I'm so glad you remembered me.
I wanted to tell her that I had always hoped to see her again at the reunion, but I didn't have the courage. Thank you for helping me out earlier. I thanked her, and Ashley waved it off.
I've always wanted to repay you for back then, so I'm glad I could help you out a little.
Seeing my puzzled look, she explained, back in middle school, Ashley had been ostracized by all the girls and gossiped about. She became so scared to go to school that she thought about dropping out every day. Then one day, she was forced to become a library assistant. She loved reading and didn't mind the library work, but her biggest worry was who she would work with. The other library assistant turned out to be me, who was also bullied in the class. Ashley had always cared and worried about me, seeing me as someone in the same situation. Though she found it hard to talk to others and often couldn't speak due to her nerves, she said she never had that problem with me.
You always talk to me with a kind smile, and that gave me the motivation to keep going to school. If you weren't the other library assistant, I would have stayed home and dropped out.
Ashley looked at me with teary eyes.
You saved me, Wilson. You were my first love.
My heart raced. I realized that if I didn't say something now, I'd regret it forever. I've always liked you too, Ashley. Those moments in the library with you were the only bright memories in my tough middle school years. I decided to attend the reunion today because I wanted to see you again. Unexpectedly, my first love came true. Later, I found out that the CEO of the main company, Ashley's father, had reported the misconduct of one of their employees to the subsidiary and had criticized the lack of employee training. That employee was demoted to a subcontractor. When I started dating Ashley, I soon met her parents. Even though I had only a middle school education and worked in a factory, her parents didn't look down on me. Instead, they thanked me, saying, "We never realized Ashley had such a hard time in middle school. Thank you for supporting her." I was humbled by the gratitude. Furthermore, he even said, "If you're up for it, would you like to work at our company?" But I respectfully declined the offer. I've heard that the hiring criteria for your company requires at least a high school diploma. I have no intention of getting in through connections, so could I possibly try out on my own after I graduate from high school? Hearing my response, Ashley's father nodded in understanding. Before starting high school, my first priority was to repay the debt. My mother had already passed away, and my father, who had children later in life, was approaching retirement. I desperately wanted to settle the debt before then. Through official recruiting channel, I took the exam for Ashley's father's company, passed, and was proudly hired as full-time employee. Getting this far was all thanks to Ashley's unwavering support. Though her appearance had changed since middle school, her heart hadn't changed a bit. Fast forward 10 years after reuniting with Ashley, Ashley's father, who became my father-in-law, held our child in his arms with a soft smile on his face.
I finally get to hold my grandchild. I have no regrets now.
Next to him, my mother-in-law chimed in, "Well, I can't go until I see our little Jessica in a wedding dress," causing laughter to erupt. The day after Jessica was born, my father passed away, looking content. If I hadn't attended that reunion that day, I might never reconnected with Ashley, felt such overwhelming happiness, or been able to show my dad his grandchild. My dad faced so many hardships in his life. I hope I made him proud at least a bit. With these thoughts, I gazed at my daughter, peacefully sleeping in her grandfather's arms.